Okay, perfect. Hi guys. How are you guys doing? A very good evening, and appreciate that you guys are joining the session. So this session is all gonna be about you mastering how to uh, get the relevant skills that which is required in the industry and how you can take a job, right? But before we move into the session, so this session, I will just let you know how the session is going to go. So this session is going to be more like we communicating with each other. So I have a question for my guest. Of course, I'm prepared on that. And if you have any particular questions which you want to get solved by the expert, for sure, put it in the chat box and we will have a look over there. Yeah, but before that, just let me know if you can hear me perfectly, if you can see me perfectly, and if you can hear me nicely. Just to check the technicality part. Perfect. I believe we are pretty much sorted. All right. So just let me know, guys. Somebody is saying bad audio. I will just get it checked. Just give me 1 second. Perfect. I believe the audio from our side. Please check it from your side. Guys, before we move ahead, just let us know from which city you guys are joining in. We would be more than happy to know a little bit more. Yeah, perfect. Let's wait for 1 minute, Pawan, so that the more and more people can plug in, and we will be rolling them. Perfect. I think we shall get started. So, today's session, I think I have given a brief introduction about it. Speaking about the speaker today, so we have lined up Pawan. He works at LinkedIn and he's a senior engineer over there. Right? And also, he has been working with Newton School since a past year. More from the expert and Pawan, the stage is all yours.
Thanks, Laveen. Hello, folks. Although I cannot see you, folks, but yeah, thank you so much for joining in. And it's really great. It's going to be great today to interact with all of you. Really happy to see you folks here. And we are going to have some interesting discussion today. I hope you folks are excited about it. And with respect to my introduction, so I currently work at LinkedIn as a senior software engineer and have roughly 4.5 years of professional experience. I majorly work in backend. So if you guys have seen feed on LinkedIn, where you see the posts, where you so I primarily work on that. And I have been associated with Newton School for about 2.5 years now, and working as a mentor here. And yeah, let's see what you folks have as a questions, and I'll try to address as much as possible. Laveen, over to you.
Perfect. Pawan, can you hear me perfectly? I will. There was some, I think, a technical glitch.
I can hear you, but your voice was little bit breaking. Now it's better.
Perfect, perfect. I will just get it sorted, and then we will move ahead. All right. To tell you a little bit more about the webinar, what we are gonna be uh, speaking about, I will just give you a heads up so that you should know what you should be expecting. So, this webinar is all about how to get a tech job, right? What should be what relevant soft skills are you requiring? What other technical skills are you going to be requiring? A little bit case studies coming from the Pawan side. That's going to be for sure, right? And any kind of particular questions you have, Pawan would be, I think, more than happy to let you know, right? Before that, before we move further, if you can just let me know, what do you think on, as per you, is FSD, full stack development? What is your definition of FSD? Perfect. I think, Pawan, we shall start with the question. So, at this very moment, how important do you think full stack development is in the market, and what are the cool things you can do learning this particular skill?
I think relevant question in today's age, and what we are seeing right now is the rise of Chat GPT, the rise of generative AI, right? And most of the people might be thinking, "Oh, do we need software engineer jobs? Is the job of software engineer safe?" Right? So let me answer it from my perspective, or from the information that I have. Full stack development is really important, and it's going to be the core, irrespective of generative AI comes or there is any other technology coming and trying to break the grounds. Full stack development, according to me, is still going to be the core of anything and everything. Right now, if you go to even a small marketplace, right, you guys would have shops near you, right? And those shops would also have websites, and they would also have their own systems of selling things to people. Right now, we are in that age where there were used to be pamphlets. Now, all of the pamphlets are online. Everything is being done using web and internet, right? So, I think I cannot define more how much important full stack development is, and it's going to continue as a trend for, I don't know, I cannot even define a period, right? It's going to continue for a very long period of time.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So, like, everybody speaks that job nahi hai, job chahiye, and also with the job, there's also one statement which also comes ki yaar, iska salary level expectations. What are we expecting? The entry level expectations, and after a few years, what can we expect in this particular, line? So, if you can just put a few words on that.
Hey Laveen, I think there's some issue with your internet.
I will just get it rectified. Just give me 1 second. I'm assuming Pawan should be better now.
Yeah.
Perfect. Did you hear my question, or should I repeat my question once again?
I think you're still breaking, Laveen, but I think I heard your question with respect to what is the salary one should expect as a fresher and how should the progression of the career look like, right? So let me try
Yes.
to answer it. As a fresher, uh, everyone does not have, I mean, those many skills as they are needed in the industry. So that is the reason
Mhm.
experience counts, and you grow in your career with the numbers of years of experience. So let's suppose if a fresher
Mhm.
joins in, I mean, the range of salaries depend on what type of company you are joining in, right? And at this moment in time, I think it's the right opportunity everywhere to grab that right place, right, and be in the right company, working with right set of folks. Eventually, when you're working in the early stages of your career, it's important to understand that salary should not be the motivating factor, right? You should try to learn as much as possible, right? And as you learn, you will realize that salary would come as a byproduct, right? As you grow
Mhm.
in your number of years of experience, the number of I mean, the packages that you would get, the offers that you would get would also increase in that manner, right? So it's important to focus on the learnings in the initial years, and salary and growth are, I mean, by default, indicators for that.
Perfect. So the next question, which is which I have for you, right? I think it's a favorite recruiter's question. Where do a full stack developer see them down the line, 5 to 10 years?
Hey Lavina, I lost you again.
Okay, just give me 1 second. I'm not sure why the internet is so glitchy. Pawan, can you hear me perfectly?
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Should I repeat my question, or shall we start with the
Yeah,
answer?
I did not hear you.
Okay, perfect. So my question was, this is the one of the favorite question of recruiters. I'm assuming that where do a full stack developer sees them down the year of 5 to 10 years in terms of growth, in terms of financials, or in terms of any learning, or if they can learn that particular set of skills and use their in their own business module, how that can help them.
Right. So I think 4 or 5 years down the line, or even if you look at 5 to 10 years down the line, what really is going to
Hmm.
matter is what have you done in your career until now, right? So, for example, if you started at a particular place, you learned some set of skills, right? You learned some soft skills, you learned some engineering skills, you learned some problem solving skills, right? Now, the fundamental when you are, let's suppose, looking at it from a perspective of growing in the career over a period of time, right? When a building gets constructed, the base is still the solid base that we have, right? So you need to develop that base, right? And over the period of time, you need to develop an expertise. For example, some people try to expertise in distributed systems. Some people try to data engineering. Some people get into the path of AI engineer. Some people get into the path of a particular role, right? So it really depends on, the expertise that you're trying to build. So start as a generic role, right? Try to learn anything and everything that you can learn. Eventually, as you progress, try to understand where is my interest lie, right? And where can I grow more, right? Which role would be more suitable for me, right? So when you're talking to a recruiter, right, you can just say that, hey, down the line, 4 5 years down the line, I want to get into this role, right? Where I can contribute towards the company's growth, and as well as at the same time learn the skills and grow my own self, right? So looking at the growth of the company along with own growth is really crucial, right? So I think that's possibly my way of looking at growth over a period of 4 5 years, or experience over a period of 4 5 years.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. What we have seen at Newton School now is that whenever we speak to our users, right? What we have seen a recent trend among the people is that people from non-technical background, right, are very much inclined towards learning full stack web development, right? So my first question is that can a person from a non-technical background can become a full stack web developer?
Right. I think definitely yes. Right. One way to look at it is, for example, Newton School. Right. Newton School does provide. I the students that I mentor, right, mostly they are coming from non-technical backgrounds, right, and they are doing
Hmm.
really good when they are trying to switch to a, let's suppose, technical career, or they are trying to get into full stack development. Right. So
Hmm.
I don't think there is any hard and fast rule that you should be from a technical background to understand full stack development. Right. I have
Hmm.
people from arts. I have people from commerce, right? I've seen people from sales marketing coming into development, and they're doing it really well, right? So I don't think there is any restriction, as long as you have the capability to learn, right? Nothing is impossible, right? I can give my own example. I have done my electronics and telecommunications engineering, right? I've not even done it from computer science. However, what I'm doing right now is entirely computer science, right? I mean, that's one way to look at it. I'm standing right in front of you, right? And I can give you of examples of a lot of folks who have actually done it from a different role or from a different background.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So uh, a lot of questions also come into our social media platforms, right? That once you have become a full stack web developer, right? How can you crack the top companies, majorly the fan companies, or how you get into it? Any kind of tip you have for these people so that they can get a little bit understanding, or any resources which you have in mind so that they can learn from those particular channels?
I think there is no rule that says that you will get into FANG, right? However, one
Mhm.
fundamental thing that is most essential is problem solving skills, right? Given a problem, are you able to solve it, right? Are you able to think how to solve it, how to approach it, right? Are you able to think about how to optimize it? Let's take an example. For example, let's suppose you are moving in an elevator, right, and you are designing an elevator for a building, right? How can you
Mhm.
optimize the elevator, right? For example, if there are two people standing on second floor, and if there are two people standing on third floor, And if a lift is going up from the zeroth floor, right, anyway you can pick them up and move them to the top floor, right? Do you have to do multiple rounds? No, right? You can just optimize for the weight, you can optimize for a single travel, right? Save petrol, for example, right? How can you define smallest path, right, or simplest path without wasting a lot of petrol, right? So these are some very common examples that you guys might have heard in your real life as well, right? We try to do that in real life every day, right? You try to optimize for money, you try to optimize for fuel, you try to optimize your energy, right? These are the
Hmm.
problems. And similarly, when you go to any company's interview, right, they will ask you more of a problems that they are facing. For example, at LinkedIn, we would ask you problems related to DSA. We would ask you to design some of the systems that are being used in LinkedIn, right? How would you think, right? How do you think it works, right? If you have that sort of understanding, you can crack any company, right? There is no bar to it. You can even crack, any of the FANG as well. So I think there is no secret sauce. The only secret sauce is being curious, asking right set of questions, learning new things as they come to you, right, and not stopping your learning, right? Anything you can learn from internet is full of resources.
Perfect. That's quite an answer you have given, Pawan. I mean, I am
Yeah,
inspired after listening to that answer. Perfect,
right.
perfect. So I think I'm in touch with few people right from Newton School. So we keep on speaking about the instructors which have been giving lectures to the people at Newton School, right? So you have also been part of Newton School giving lectures to people on in the regular batches, right? So considering that you have a lot of experience in those teaching to the learners, right? Um, my question is that how do you think that the the certification a lot of companies are providing right now nowadays, right? How do you think Newton School is different in providing those certifications?
Right. I think that's an interesting question. The reason I like being at Newton School typically is because of the experience that they provide to the learners. If I would have been a learner and if I would have received this kind of an experience where you have instructors to teach you, and then you have mentors to cover your doubts, you have mock interviews, you have assignments, you have whole and soul support of the operations team, right, who are running day and night to get you placed, right? If I would have had that support at my when I was starting my career, it would have been really great, right? So I think one fundamental fact that makes Newton School different is that it's really learner oriented, right? It helps learners grow, right? It's not about just enrolling them to teach them something. It's about helping and making their career, right? It's about helping them grow. Right? So I think that's where Newton School stands. And from my experience, all of the learners that come here are might be from non-technical. They are some of them are from technical, right? And at the end of it, at the end of the course, they all learn the skills that are necessary, right? No one feels that hey, we have not learned anything, right? So I think that's
Mhm.
really the end goal, right? And that's really the motive. So if a student can say that with pride and confidence that hey, I learned something new, I think that's the answer, and that's where Newton School helps.
Perfect, perfect. Um, I mean, I am assuming that when you were learning all of these things, right? Not a lot of online certifications were, I think, available in the market, right? So, how do you think that the fight between the offline and the online, how handy does online comes in terms of educating oneself?
I think there are a couple of points that I would like to talk about here, right? One is flexibility. You do not have to be physically present, right? You can do it from anywhere. You can stay with your family, right? You can still learn your skills, right? You do not have to move cities. You do not have to actually travel to get to a location. From my
Hmm.
understanding, that's the primary advantage that I feel. The second advantage is, I think, with the current trends, right? The more information, the more resources are actually available online, right? So there is no need or there is no requirement, hard and fast rule to actually go to an offline world and do things there, right? Even if you look at multiple companies, they are supporting people working from home, right? The reason being, you will be more productive, right? You will have more focus, you will have more energy working in an online mode rather than an offline mode, right? So I think that's I think right now the prevalent part is still online, and I think it will continue to stay there, and it's going to help students a lot because it will help them to be flexible with respect to how they are working right now, right? They will get the benefit that you can attend a session anytime you want, right? Not only at a particular dedicated time, right? You can talk to your mentors and schedule a session right away, right? You do not have to visit to the mentor, right? You can do it right away online. So I think those are some of the benefits and advantages of being online rather than offline.
Perfect, perfect. So we say, like nowadays people say, keep on practicing your art, keep on practicing your art, right? You should be an artist in whatever you are doing, right? So how much does a learner require to do a practice in this particular segment?
Right.
Like,
I think the most crucial. Yeah. Sorry, Lavin.
yeah, please continue.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I mean, if you ask me, right, I have been in this industry for 5 years, roughly 5 years now, right, and
Hmm.
I still feel challenging on most of the things, right. When I'm working as a day-to-day part of my life, when I'm
Hmm.
working for LinkedIn, I find a lot of challenges, right, and I have to tackle them by understanding things, by learning new things every day, right, and I have to practice them, I have to remember them, I have to understand them thoroughly, right, and only then can I solve a problem. So I think it's really important and crucial that a skill once learned, right, needs to be, I mean, it needs to be polished, right? You
Hmm.
cannot just have a skill and say that okay, I have a skill, right, and it's
Hmm.
going to stay with me forever, right? You need to keep on polishing your skill, right? I think again an example of a diamond, right? You need to polish it every time, right, so that its glow come out, right? So you will stand out if you keep on practicing and if you keep on learning more, right? So overall the intention is learning, right? In what matter it comes to you, right, by reading, by solving, by practicing, right, whatever mode is, I think that should be fine, but learning is really important every day.
Perfect. All right. So I am particularly not from the the technical part of my understanding, right? But when I hang out with my friends, those who are from this background, right, a lot of languages come into existence: C, C++, Java, JavaScript. A lot of them. I can name a few, right? So what language is the first language you would suggest the user or the learner to go and like get the fundamentals of that, and then following that, the languages they can learn?
I think I would also answer it in a slightly different perspective, right? What
All
I
right.
feel is language is a mode of communication, right? For
Mhm.
example, we stay in India, right? We talk in Hindi, we talk in English, we talk in some specific state languages. For example, we talk in Marathi, we talk in Punjabi, right? There are multiple
Right.
languages. But what
Yeah.
humans do, they convey their emotions, right? You're conveying your emotions, right? So essentially, what you're doing is just speaking what you have in mind, right? In which form you speak does not really make a difference, right? So similarly, same thing goes in software engineering, right? You need not
Hmm.
be a master in a particular language, right? Being a master at a particular language does not mean that you have known it all or you know it all, right? It's
Mhm.
important to understand the fundamentals, right, of why do we need programming, right? What is it for? How to solve a problem, right, or how to write code for a problem. Which language you write in is not really important, and it's not really essential as well, right? But for a fresher, you need to start somewhere, right? You need to at least start somewhere. For example, when we grow up, we start with I mean syllables, right? We say A, we say B, right? Then we say sentences, then we say words, right? So you need to start somewhere. So I would suggest we can start with Java, for example, right? You can learn DSA in Java. Java has good online support, right? It has a good community support, so you will get resources online easily, right? You
Mhm.
will have a lot of people to help you, right? You will have Newton School to help you, for example, right? So I think starting with Java is something that I would recommend at this point in time, right? And I think it could change with different set of people. For example, if someone is working in front end, they might tell you that hey, start with JavaScript, right? If someone is working in data science, they might tell you that hey, start with Scala, right, or start with Python. So the answer is not a single one, right? But for a fresher, I think Java makes real sense.
Perfect, perfect. So this question is something, we are in the era of constantly changing, what do you say, trends, technologies, skills, right? मतलब आज अगर कुछ चल रहा है तो कल शायद कल कुछ नहीं चलेगा. That happens nowadays very oftenly, right?
Yeah.
So what would you suggest a learner that how can they cope up firstly with these constantly changing trends, firstly, and secondly, what are the relevant skill sets does it require? It could be soft skills, it could be hard skills, technical skills, whatever, right? So what would you suggest them to like cope up with the changes and be flexible as much as possible?
Right. I would answer it in three parts. One being with respect to change, right? Change is going to be constant, right? An example that I can quote: I used to work in image processing when I started my career. I worked in that a little bit. Then I worked in distributed systems. I worked in backend, right? Then I worked in data engineering, right? I worked on Hadoop, big data, right? Right now I'm working on performance engineering. I'm working on feed, right? And there are a lot of things that I work on. So what I used to think earlier is, oh, things are changing for me, so I have to get nervous, I have to get anxious, right? I will think, oh, I have to cope up with everything, right? So I would not say that you really need to cope up with everything, right? You just need to go with the flow, right? Things are going to be in a constant state of flux, right? Nothing stays constant, nothing stays temporary, right? So I think one important thing is, again, the underlying factor is you need to upgrade your knowledge, right? How do you upgrade your knowledge? Keep reading about stuff that you are more interested in, right? Be
Mhm.
relevant in your field. For example, if you're working in software engineering, right, stay relevant about, okay, what databases are coming up, right? Are there any new languages coming up? Are there any new technologies coming up? I think most of you might know about chat gpt, generative ai, right? These are the buzzwords that people are hearing these days, right? Try reading about it, right? It's not that difficult, right? Even if you get the fundamentals. So with respect to coping part, I think the only way to cope is to get better every day by 0.1%, right? You cannot go from 0 to 100. You have to go from 0 to 0.001, then increment it every day until you get to a point where you feel that this has become your habit, right? Where you feel that, hey, I need to learn something every day, right? So only then will you be at the juncture where you will not feel anxious, right, with change. You will not feel the need to cope with the change, right? You will feel that it's natural, it's going to happen. I think that's the second part. I'm sorry, Lavina, I forgot the second question that you asked. Could you please repeat that?
Um, I was saying that how can they manage their like skills that are required? That was my question. It could be soft or it could be
Right.
technical on those grounds.
Right. I think one of the skill that has remained with me for last 3.5 years, and that has helped me, is particularly one of the thing is communication skills, soft skills. How do you present yourselves, right? How are you able to present in front of others, right? How do you talk about your work, right? How much knowledge do you have, right? You can only express it if you know a way to articulate it, right? You cannot express it unless you know a way to articulate it. So I think it's important to learn to talk, right? To communicate, right? Be it with your friends, be it with your family, right? Talk with your friends on what are they learning, right? Try to understand their perspective, try to pick their brain, right? Talk to people in the industry, reach out to them on LinkedIn, right? Connect with them, ask them relevant questions, right? So I think that is one way to keep on learning. Another way I prefer personally is reading, right? I have around 30-35 minutes slot every day, irrespective of
Mhm.
whatever the day is or how hectic my day is. I try to take some time to upgrade my skills and try to learn, or try to see if I can occupy or if I can get a new skill, right? Or if I can build up my existing skill. I think, but soft skills are still going to stay with your career, even with your life, right? Those are not specific to a job, right? Those are specific to life. So I think, yeah, that's one piece of advice for everyone, that communication skills are a must, right? You need to learn how to talk.
I think what it said just right now, I was also going or scrolling through internet and a reel came up which said you're relevant if you're reading, you're irrelevant if you're not reading. So I
Yeah,
think what you said it just clicked into my head that
yeah,
it's a very important skill.
yeah. Actually, because that's what matter in the long run, right? What you learn right now is not going to stay with you for 50 more years, right? You need to keep upgrading.
Correct. Perfect. Guys, if you have any questions for us, you can feel free to put it in the chat box because we are on the end of this session. I don't want that we should miss out on any of the things. Let us know. The next question for you, Pawan, is that uh, if you can provide some real-time case studies, right, which you have dealt particularly on LinkedIn, right, in terms of your full stack project, right? If you can share a little bit about a thought so that the user can relate to it and understand how you get it solved.
Right. So I think it's going to be a little bit complicated, considering that the work that we do is really embedded into a lot of fields, right? So I work on a distributed system. So what we do is measure the performance of systems running inside LinkedIn. So for example, I have feed, right? I have messages, I have network, right? I am hoping that you guys know what LinkedIn is. If you don't know, please download it, please install it, please use it. And So is when you open up a network page, right, or when you, let's suppose, open up feed, right, you should not see the feed loading after 10 minutes, right? You should see it loading instantaneously, right? You should see it loading as soon as possible, right? So we work on the aspect of performance engineering. So what we do is measure the performance of our existing systems using distributed databases and distributed systems. So we have big data pipelines crunching a lot of numbers, looking at what members or how our users are behaving, right, and what all optimizations can be put into picture, right? So I think that's one way to look at it. I don't work on front end typically, so I could not I would not be able to answer from that perspective. But
Mhm.
yeah, from a backend perspective, typically my work revolves around making sure that the performance of our system right? We have a lot of complexity built in because it's distributed system to a max, right? I'm sure these are new terminologies for you folks. I would recommend you folks to read about it. I think that would provide you folks a little bit more clarity. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me as well if you have any questions.
Perfect. I think what I will do, I will even share Pawan's LinkedIn in the chat box so that anybody who wants to reach out to him and ask him any questions personally, I think Pawan will be there. Pawan will be there.
Sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Pawan, so this is the last question which I have for you, which is being asked by every intellectual person, right? So if you have any books recommendation or any podcast or any blog which you consume to stay updated on any of the things, it could be technology, it could be on LinkedIn, it could be on industry wise, right? So these students can get started with those and keep on following the links as they keep on reading it, right? So if you have anything in mind, please let us know. Pawan, are you there?
Lavin, I think I lost you. You were saying about the resources that I read, and I prefer reading from that help me get updated. I heard until that point.
Yeah,
Was there
I
anything
think
else to the
uh,
question?
yeah, books, podcasts, blogs, anything which you have in mind, any website particularly you have in mind for the learners. So please let me know.
Right. So I really love Medium. If you guys know, there is a app called Medium, right, where people publish a lot of articles, right? People publish a lot of posts, right, which could be related to anything, right? For example, I'm apart from work, I'm interested in psychology, right? So I read about psychology, right? I'm interested in, for example, distributed systems, right? So I read about distributed systems from Medium. That's where I try to collect my articles. Apart from that, I'm a hardcore book lover. I try to gather or collect books in a physical format rather than it being on a phone or on a tablet or on a laptop. From a technical standpoint or from a development standpoint, right, O'Reilly is a platform that you folks can use. Right, there are a lot of resources on that particular platform. Right, for example, there's one book called as Designing Data Intensive Applications. Right, it's a little
Mhm.
bit advanced book. I will not going to recommend that for you folks to read, but I think even if you try to understand what that is about, right, just try to understand what that scale is, right? You can learn Java from that, right? I think that's what I generally try to hear and listen, and generally I prefer Audible as an audiobook. Amazon's Audible, and I try to read or listen by basically, right, while I'm walking or while I'm doing something which is more of a menial job, right? I try to listen to fiction, non-fiction, right, and sometimes preferably self-help books, right? So I think again, all of this is meant to either something is adding to your soft skills or something is adding to your technical skills, right? And either something is entertaining you, right? So I have three divisions. Either it could be self-growth, self-learning, it could be technical learning, or it could be, just entertainment, right? So try to define time, try to define what platforms would you use for that. But yeah, a general recommendation: do read, do listen, right? It really helps your communication skills. It really helps trigger your neurons in your brain, right? It's basically neurons firing and you understanding stuff, right? So try to fire more neurons is what I generally prefer to say. Yeah, I think that's about it, Loving.
Perfect. Guys, I have plugged in the Pawan's LinkedIn page in the chat box so you can find over there. I think it's one relevant question for you, Pawan, in the chat box is that as per you, how much time does it take a beginner to master in web development? This is from Abhishek.
Right. I think a good question. And again, there's no short answer to it. Let me answer it in this way. Right. So there is. Let's suppose there are two people, Ramesh and Suresh. Right. Ramesh joined a particular company named A, and Suresh joined a particular company named B. Right.
Hmm.
Now, company A is a small startup, and company B is a very large organization. Right. Which does, I mean, work, but yeah, the work is different. Right. I mean, it's very specific to the team. But while Ramesh
Correct.
is working in A, he's working on different types of stuff, right? For example, he's working on front end, he's working on DevOps, he's working on back end, right? He's learning all of those skills. He might find it difficult initially. He might be getting paid less, right? And he might not be earning that much as Suresh is earning, for example. But what Suresh does, he goes to the office, has breakfast, sits, does nothing, and comes back home, right? Over a period of time, let's suppose 2 years pass, right? And after 2 years, Ramesh realizes that he has a lot of skills now, right?
Hmm.
And Suresh realizes that, hey, I have spent 2 years doing nothing, right? And I have not learned anything. So what Ramesh thinks is, let me try joining company B, right? And I don't know, I'll see what happens to my interview, and I'll try to join that company. Now, what you would think might happen is Ramesh might not be able to clear it. But actually, if you think about it, Ramesh has really learned a lot of things, right? Ramesh worked in a small startup, right? Now, when he joins that company, he joins at a bigger position as compared to what Suresh is at, right? And unfortunately, Suresh gets fired after some time because he's not contributing any of the work, right? So I think with respect to timeline, timeline differs for everyone. It's upon you, right? You can excel in your career in 6 months. You can even not excel in your career after 10 years, right? So again, what is important, what is fundamental, is you need to realize that try to be curious and observant about things around you, right?
Hmm.
Try to learn anything and everything from your surroundings, right? And with respect to web development, I mean, I would not say that there, okay, 1 year is sufficient or 2 years is sufficient, but you need at least 2 years to understand the fundamentals and basics, right? When you're working in an industry, right? But when
Hmm.
you're, for example, if you join Newton School, right, you can learn this stuff faster, right? You can understand JavaScript, you can understand HTML, CSS, you can understand how data structures work, right? You can write code for that. So I think, yeah, 6 months is good enough time for you to get the fundamentals, and then once you start working in an organization, 2 years is something that I need as an industry experience to call you as something that you know something, right? So I think a very short answer to a very vague question.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. So this is gonna be a last question, guys. A last call. If you have any questions, now is the time or never. Perfect. Um, because there's an abundance knowledge on the internet nowadays, right? So a very frequent question comes not only at Newton School but in general, right? That how can we stay motivated, or how can we deal with that we are getting exhausted, or if there is any burnout, how can we get overcome that particular feeling, particularly when a person is pursuing full stack web development, considering that you have already paved your path through in this particular career. If you have any tips for these.
Right. I think this is a question very close to my heart, because there have been a lot of situations where I have felt that, hey, am I capable enough? Will I be able to do something? Will I be able to learn something? Will I be able to grow my career? Right. And I've faced a lot of disappointments. I've faced a lot of failures. Right. And there have been times where I've overworked and burnt myself. Right. And do not even have the energy to wake up the very next day. And now, since I look back at it, I think it's also a skill to build, right? You would face a lot of failures, right? You would feel a lot of disappointments. You would
Hmm.
see things not going your way for a considerable period of time, right? What has helped me is consistency, right? You do not need to give 100% every day, right? You, even if you give, let's suppose, 20% on a day where you are not feeling good enough, right? I think that's also important. Don't put a full stop to it, right? Don't think that, hey, if I'm not able to do something, let's drop it, I'm not going to pursue it any further. I think that's a dead end. Rather than that, think that 0.01% better every day is the only thing that you need. So consistency is important. I'm not talking in terms of knowledge, right? No one has gained knowledge in just 15 minutes or 1 hour, right? You need to build that wealth of knowledge, right? That's what I call, that's what makes you more humble, right? And in order to do that, you need to understand that failures would be a part of your journey, right? Failures would help you grow the most, right? So take them as an opportunity, right? Don't feel disheartened if you're failing, and don't think that it's the end of your life, right? There are a lot of things that are going to happen good as well, right? So stay consistent. Don't think that hey, this is difficult. It is going to be difficult, right? If I would have joined at that moment in time, it would have been difficult for me as well. It is difficult for everyone. But what makes people stand out is consistency, getting up after failing. I think that's crucial.
Perfect, perfect. I think what you said about 0.01% progress every day, right? So there's this content creator. He's very interesting in that. What he does is that every year he changes his T-shirt and like 1% or it's like 34% increase or 35% next year. So he wears that T-shirt, and it's a very interesting concept to see that you can actually see daily on regular basis on the T-shirt that how much growth is happening. So that's a
Yeah,
constant
it's
reminder
compounding,
for
right?
you to exactly. That's I think that's quite an
Yep.
concept. But either ways, I think I will just check once if we have any questions. I think no, we don't have. Uh, Appreciate you, Pawan, finding out time from a hectic day and coming and giving a few words to our viewers. And more than that, if you have any closing speech for them, please let me know.
I think one thing that I like to say to everyone that I mean, if I would have heard at my starting point of my career or at my points of trajectory, I would have benefited a lot out of it. I believe in three principles. One is consistency, one is perseverance, and third is hard work. Right? Nothing comes without these three. Right? Even if you say that luck, right? Luck is just going to push you, right? It's not going to I mean, it's not going to come for you every time, right? Luck favors those who actually work hard, right? So even if you're lucky, you might get good in 1 out of 10 opportunities, right? But if you're hardworking, you will get 9 out of 10 opportunities, right? So I think it's really important to stay consistent and do the hard work, irrespective of failures, irrespective of disappointments. And again, believe me, disappointments and failures are going to be a part of your life, irrespective. I fail every day, right? I'll tell you honestly, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I'm not trying to say that I know it all, right? I fail every day, right? And I believe every day that, hey, I've learned something new out of failing, right? And that keeps me up and that keeps me motivated. So I think from that perspective, just make sure that you take right decisions, right? And just keep going with consistency and perseverance.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Just one last thing. So I got my first job just because of LinkedIn, right? So kudos to the team of LinkedIn for creating such an amazing product and helping me land my first
Right.
job. So
Right.
more
That's
than
great to
more than
hear.
yeah, perfect. Just wanted to get in front of you. Perfect. Either ways,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time, Pawan. I hope we will
Thanks,
get
Lavin.
in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lavin.
Perfect. Bye bye.